I opened the DoorDash app and saw my fiancée ordered dinner to another address. When I knocked, her lover answered. She looked at me and said, "Why did you come?" Then started to laugh. I didn't find out she was cheating from a text, or a photo, or some friend trying to do the right thing. I found out because of a DoorDash notification. One tiny buzz that cracked everything open. It was around 9 in the evening, Thursday. Lena had texted me earlier saying she was working late again. She worked in marketing and often stayed behind to prep presentations, so I didn't question it. I was just tired, sitting on the couch half watching basketball highlights with a beer in my hand when my phone vibrated. It was from DoorDash, the app we shared for our orders. "Your order has been delivered." But I hadn't ordered anything. At first, I thought it was some old glitch or an automatic push. Then I looked closer. It was her account, her name, her photo, the card linked. Ours, the joint card we'd opened to save for our wedding. And the address? Not ours. I zoomed in on the map. The delivery pin hovered over a high-rise near the University District, 25 minutes away. Same place I dropped her off once months ago when she claimed she was meeting an old friend. I'd thought nothing of it then, but now my stomach twisted. The order wasn't just one meal. It was for 2 entrees, 2 drinks, and a dessert for 2, a molten lava cake, her favorite. It was time-stamped 5 minutes ago. I sat there staring at the map, telling myself maybe she sent dinner to a friend. Maybe she was helping someone sick or celebrating with coworkers. But there was no corporate office near that address, just apartments. My thoughts didn't line up right. I grabbed my keys. The drive there felt like sleepwalking. Every light turned red. My hands clutched the steering wheel so tightly they hurt. When I pulled into the lot, I spotted her silver sedan right away, parked far from the streetlights, half hidden behind a dumpster. That was it. No more doubt. I walked into the building. My heart beat so hard it made me dizzy. The hallway smelled like wine and candles. I could hear faint music through the thin walls, soft jazz, the kind she liked when she wanted to unwind. I followed the sound. Apartment 2B. I knocked. A man opened the door. Shirtless, barefoot. He had that startled look of someone who just got caught, but didn't know by whom. For a few seconds, we just stared at each other. Then Lena appeared behind him. She was wearing my hoodie, the same one she'd told me she left in her car last week. The air in that room froze. I felt something inside me go completely still. Not rage, not grief, just stillness. She blinked once, twice, and then smirked. Like she'd been expecting me. "Why did you come?" she said. And then she laughed. Actually laughed. A short, sharp laugh that cut through my chest. That sound told me everything. I stepped forward, enough to see the kitchen counter. There were 2 wine glasses, a candle, and the DoorDash bag, still open, food containers half empty. And there was something else. A cake. On the box, written in frosting, were the words "to new beginnings." That phrase hit me like a slap. The guy behind her, Curtis, I'd later learn his name, tried to act casual, but his voice trembled when he said, "Man, you should probably go." He stepped forward, maybe thinking he could just shut me out of his apartment like some delivery guy who wandered in the wrong door. But I didn't move. I looked straight at Lena, my fiancée, the woman I'd been saving for, planning a future with. She didn't apologize. She didn't even look ashamed. Instead, she poured herself more wine and said, "You were going to find out anyway. Might as well be now." It was the tone that broke me. Not sadness, not guilt, just annoyance that I'd interrupted her night. Something inside me burned cold. I asked how long this had been going on. She said nothing. Curtis shifted uncomfortably, muttered something under his breath. When I turned toward him, he blurted, "She said you knew. That it was over." That was the first twist I didn't see coming. She'd already rewritten the story, told him we were done. I was just some guy who hadn't accepted it. I should have left then, but my brain kept trying to make sense of it. Why the DoorDash? Why use our card? Why do this so openly? Then I noticed the receipt taped to one of the containers. It listed my account, my card, my delivery history. She'd logged into my profile to order it. She'd used my own name to pay for her dinner with him. Not by accident. It was deliberate. A final insult. I laughed, a sound that didn't even feel human. "You used my card," I said quietly, but she just shrugged, sipping her wine. "You'll survive." Curtis looked uncomfortable. "Look, man, I didn't know," he started, but I didn't wait for him to finish. I stepped toward the counter, grabbed the half-eaten cake, and slammed it into the sink. The glass cracked. The candle fell, spilling wax everywhere. Lena's calm cracked for the first time. "You're paying for that," she snapped. The words came out automatically, like habit. It hit me then. I'd been paying for everything. The apartment, the dinners, the engagement ring, probably this wine too. I turned around, shaking, but not from anger, from realization. The life I'd been building wasn't mine at all. It was hers, propped up by my effort, my money, my trust. She pointed toward the door. Leave before I call security. I looked at Curtis. He avoided my eyes. She walked past me, opened the door, and waited. Her posture screamed power, confidence, complete control of the situation. So I walked out, because nothing I could say would touch her. Some people only understand loss when it finally reaches their pocket, not their heart. As the door shut behind me, I heard her voice again, muffled but clear. Delete my number. Out in the parking lot, I stood staring at her car. Her gym bag sat on the passenger seat. A keychain I'd given her on our first anniversary hung from the mirror, a small wooden charm that said, ours. It swung lightly in the wind like a joke. On the drive home, I didn't feel like I'd caught her cheating. I felt like I'd just woken up from a dream someone else had scripted. When I got back, I checked the bank app. There were 3 new transactions. 2 transfers labeled therapy, $600 each, and 1 DoorDash charge from an hour ago. The description matched the restaurant receipt I'd seen. That's when it hit me. This wasn't her first dinner there. It was routine, a pattern. She'd been using our shared money, our accounts, our lives, to feed something behind my back. I went through old statements and saw similar charges. The same restaurant, the same neighborhood, same total. It wasn't a glitch. It had been months. I sat there in silence, scrolling through numbers that suddenly had meaning. The candlelight I'd seen earlier, the wine, the laughter, all paid for by me. By midnight, I'd canceled the joint card, locked my account, but I left one thing untouched, the DoorDash receipt that had exposed her. I printed it out, smoothed it flat on the table, and stared at it until the ink started to blur. That little digital map, the red pin, the timestamp, the driver's note that read "Enjoy your meal," was the proof of everything I hadn't wanted to believe. She didn't make a mistake. She wanted to be caught. And tomorrow, I was going to make sure she regretted that. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her smirk. That single line, "Why did you come?" played over and over, as if my mind wanted to rewind to find a version where she looked guilty, or surprised, or anything human. But she hadn't. She'd laughed. By morning, my body moved on its own. I packed a bag, canceled the florist, the caterer, the photographer. Each call felt like cutting another rope, holding my sanity together. People were polite, too polite. They didn't know they were speaking to someone who'd just watched his engagement dissolve in front of a stranger's wine glass. Around noon, I realized something. Her car hadn't been in our driveway all night, but she hadn't come back for her things. No keys, no calls, no texts. It was like she'd disappeared into that apartment, like it had always been her real home. I needed answers, so I drove back. When I reached the complex, sunlight hit the windows of 2B like nothing had happened inside. I rang the bell once, twice. No one answered, but a woman from the next apartment cracked her door open and asked if I was the boyfriend. I didn't correct her. She said, she left early. She's been staying here for a while now. Always gets deliveries around 8. The timeline lined up. She'd been living there long before the DoorDash night. I walked away numb. At the bottom of the stairwell, I noticed a row of mailboxes. Her name was on one, not scribbled or temporary, printed neatly on a label beside Curtis Bennett. She'd made it official. I wanted to believe she'd been manipulated, that maybe Curtis had forced something. But then I saw something else. A key taped inside the frame of the mailbox, her backup key. Old habits die hard. She'd hidden spares like that at our place too. And in that moment, I stopped thinking like a heartbroken fiancé and started thinking like someone who needed the truth. I went inside. The apartment smelled like her perfume. Candles everywhere. 2 wine glasses in the sink. A framed photo of her and Curtis, smiling at the beach. The same beach where she'd told me she went with her cousin last month. I stood there frozen, absorbing the reality that while I was paying off our ring, she'd been building another life, in another apartment, under another name. On the counter sat her laptop. The screen glowed with a spreadsheet titled Product Sourcing Q3. I didn't know what it meant, but when I clicked the browser tab, I saw her side hustle accounts, designer resale pages, money transfers, deliveries. Every purchase funded by the therapy payments I'd found in our joint account. That was her secret. She'd been running a resale business, pretending she needed mental health breaks while pocketing cash. Curtis wasn't just her lover. He was her courier. The next twist came when I checked her messages. She had folders labeled C and Client 4. When I opened the first one, it wasn't Curtis. It was another man. The messages weren't romantic. They were calculated. Promises. She'd tell him she was emotionally recovering, ask for support, and somehow he'd send her money for rent. I recognized some of those deposits. They were the ones she told me came from her work bonuses. My throat felt dry. I didn't realize I was shaking until I almost dropped the laptop. I wasn't just betrayed. I'd been used, methodically, financially, emotionally. A noise snapped me back. Keys in the lock. I closed the laptop and turned around just as Lena stepped in, holding coffee and a bag of groceries. For the first time, she looked genuinely startled. "What are you doing here?" "Paying rent, apparently," I said. Her eyes darted to the laptop, then to the mail on the counter. I watched realization dawn. I knew everything now. And still, she didn't flinch. She just sighed. "You shouldn't be here. This isn't healthy." Healthy. The word almost made me laugh. "Is that what this is?" I said quietly. "Your therapy?" She put the bag down, crossing her arms like she was the one being wronged. "You make it sound dirty. I'm building something. Curtis believes in me. He doesn't suffocate me like you do." It wasn't just betrayal, it was contempt. She'd rewritten our history right to my face. Curtis came out from the bedroom, pulling on a shirt, half awake. "Hey, what's—" Then he saw me. His face drained. "Man, come on." I cut him off. "You knew?" He hesitated, then said, "She said you were done. That you'd moved out." "I didn't. She said the same about you." I interrupted. "To someone else." They both froze. That landed. Lena's mask cracked for half a second before she composed herself. "You went through my stuff? That's illegal." "Then call the cops," I said. "Tell them your fiancé found out where his savings went." Her mouth opened, closed, then opened again. No sound came out. She turned to Curtis for backup, but he was staring at the laptop screen. "Wait, what's this?" he muttered. "You said that account was ours." I followed his gaze. He'd opened the client for folder. The silence turned heavy. I didn't need to add anything. He saw the truth himself. She was playing him too. The man who'd taken her in was just another wallet in her collection. "Get out." She hissed at me, but her voice trembled now. I picked up my hoodie from the chair, the one she'd worn last night, and walked to the door. Curtis moved out of my way automatically. As I reached the hallway, I heard him shout, "You told me you loved me." And her voice, sharp, defensive. "I told you what you wanted to hear." The neighbor's doors cracked open. Whispers. A dog barked. The perfect suburban soundscape for the collapse of a lie. Outside, I finally breathed. My hands shook as adrenaline faded, but something else replaced it. Clarity. I wasn't going to chase her, or argue, or cry in parking lots. I was going to make her lies collapse under their own weight. I got in my car and drove off. Halfway home, my phone pinged. An email alert from our joint bank. A $2,000 withdrawal, tagged under business investment. She was still using the card, and that meant she still thought she had control. So I let her. I didn't cancel it yet. I wanted to see how far she'd go when she thought I wasn't watching. That night, I checked again. Another $1,200 gone. Then $700 to an online boutique. I smiled for the first time in days. Because what she didn't know was that I'd already transferred every remaining dollar into a separate account, leaving those transactions to bounce. Her mask was slipping. Her world was starting to unravel. And I was done being her safety net. Before I slept, I opened DoorDash one more time. The same account, same history. But there was a new order, time-stamped 8:42 p.m. Same restaurant. Same apartment. Different card. Mine declined. Her message to the delivery driver appeared on screen. "Sorry, we'll pay cash when you arrive." It was perfect. She'd just tried to keep the charade alive, using a card that no longer worked, for a meal she couldn't afford. And tomorrow, when she realized the account was frozen, I knew exactly where she'd run. Right back to the man she'd just screamed at. I shut off my phone and let the darkness sink in. For the first time since it started, I wasn't scared of losing her. I was curious to see how fast she'd fall once she realized she couldn't use me anymore. By the next day, Lena's world was already starting to wobble. The joint card had been declined twice overnight. One charge at the restaurant, one at a boutique. She tried calling me, but every attempt went to voicemail. I wasn't ready to speak. I wanted to see how long it would take before she realized she'd lost control of the game she built. By afternoon, she emailed me. No apology, no admission. Just, "We should talk. You owe me that much." I smiled. "Perfect." I wrote back. "Dinner. Your favorite place. Tonight. 7 p.m. Just us." But it wasn't going to be just us. I'd already reached out to someone earlier that day. Nia, the girlfriend of Curtis. I found her through his public social media, where his profile picture was the same as the one on Lena's phone wallpaper. Nia replied to my message faster than I expected, like she'd been waiting for someone to confirm her own suspicions. When we met at a small coffee shop, she looked exhausted. I showed her screenshots from the account, and she showed me texts from Curtis that lined up with Lena's fake, late-work nights. Her voice cracked when she said, "I thought they were business partners." That's when we decided. No shouting matches. No fights. Just a slow, deliberate exposure. At 7 p.m., I arrived at the restaurant first. It was the same place Lena had once said she wanted to get proposed to. An upscale spot downtown, dim lighting, white tablecloths, small candles that flickered like secrets. I picked a table near the center where everyone could see. When she walked in, heads turned. She'd dressed deliberately, black dress, gold necklace, flawless hair. Like she was attending an award ceremony for her own manipulation. Didn't think you'd actually show, she said, sliding into the chair opposite me, that same confidence radiating from her. Neither did I said. But I figured you'd enjoy one last free meal. She rolled her eyes, pretending not to care. You're being dramatic. Things got complicated. You don't understand. I leaned forward. Oh, I understand. More than you think. Before she could answer, the waiter approached. Will your guest be joining you shortly? She frowned. Guest. Right on cue. Nia appeared behind her. Calm, steady, in control. She took the empty seat beside Lena and said softly, Don't stop on my account. Lena froze, eyes darting between us. What is this? I didn't answer. I just signaled the waiter to pour the wine. For the first 5 minutes, she tried to play innocent. Said it was a misunderstanding. Claimed she and Curtis were collaborating. Then Nia pulled out her phone and started reading texts. Curtis's voice notes. Bank transfers. Every lie, laid out like silverware. The tables nearby had gone silent. People were pretending not to listen, but I could see the waitstaff slowing down to catch pieces of the conversation. Lena's mask cracked, finally. Her smile vanished. You think you're humiliating me, she hissed. You don't know what real humiliation looks like. She stood up, trembling but defiant, reaching for her purse. You think I need you? Either of you. I calmly slid an envelope across the table. No, but you'll need this. She stared at it, then opened it, expecting a letter, maybe money. Instead, there were printed screenshots of her transfers, the Venmo aliases, and the spreadsheet from her laptop with client transactions. At the bottom was a note from her company's HR, meeting scheduled to review internal expense violations. Her face drained. How did you? I didn't, I said. They reached out. Turns out mixing corporate funds with your little side business violates policy. She dropped the papers. Her voice rose. You don't get to destroy me. I stood too. You did that yourself. The restaurant was dead silent now. The waiter stepped back nervously. I walked out without looking back. But Nia stayed behind. She wasn't finished. Through the window, I saw her lean across the table, her expression sharp, almost pitying. She whispered something to Lena. I couldn't hear what. Then she slid her phone onto the table, showing something that made Lena's eyes widen in horror. Later, I'd find out what it was. The prepaid phone I'd found in her purse. Nia had traced its number and discovered messages to another man. One Lena had been grooming as her next investment. Within minutes, Nia left. Lena sat alone, clutching the papers, shaking. Outside, Nia joined me on the sidewalk. The city hummed around us. Cars, laughter, a soft drizzle beginning to fall. She's going to implode, Nia said. He'll find out everything by morning. Let her, I replied. I'm done explaining myself. We said goodbye there. Two people bound briefly by betrayal, walking away lighter than before. By midnight, the fallout started. Curtis called me, not to apologize, but to scream. You ruined my life, he yelled. She told HR it was my account. They're investigating me now. I didn't respond. I just let him rant until his voice cracked. Then I said, welcome to what I woke up to 3 nights ago, and hung up. Half an hour later, Lena texted. Short, clipped, panicked. You need to tell them the truth. They think I stole from clients. I didn't reply. I simply sent back the screenshot of her therapy transfers. The dots appeared, then disappeared, then nothing. It hit me how quickly people like her collapse once the lies run out of oxygen. By morning, her social media vanished. The joint account, frozen. The apartment, vacated overnight. She'd packed up whatever she could and left, leaving Curtis behind to deal with the mess. For a few days, silence. Then one afternoon, a DoorDash driver rang my doorbell. He looked confused, holding a familiar bag. Order for Lena, he said, reading from the receipt. It was her. She'd used her company card again. This time, sending food to my address. A test, maybe, or some twisted attempt to re-enter my life. I took the bag, thanked the driver, and closed the door. On the receipt, I circled her name and the timestamp, 7:03 p.m., exactly the time she'd first laughed in my face days ago, and pinned it to my fridge. That night, I got another email, not from her, but from her company. A short note thanking me for cooperating and confirming the closure of her corporate account, pending further investigation. She wasn't just exposed. She was erased. But I didn't feel proud or relieved. Just quiet. The kind of quiet that follows a storm that leaves nothing standing but truth. A week passed before I heard her name again. For a few days, I thought maybe it was over. That she'd vanished somewhere new to start again under another story, another victim. I was wrong. People like Lena don't vanish. They circle back when they lose control. It started on a Sunday morning. I was cleaning out the apartment, boxing up what she'd left behind. Half-empty makeup bottles, a drawer full of receipts, a stack of wedding catalogs with scribbled notes in the margins. I was just about to throw the last one out when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. No message, just a DoorDash notification. Your order is on the way. I hadn't ordered anything. At first, I thought it was a mistake again, maybe a leftover glitch from before. Then I looked closer. The delivery address was mine. The name on the receipt, Lena D. The exact same restaurant. The exact same dessert. She was mocking me, or maybe trying to send a message. Either way, I wasn't about to play along. When the driver arrived, I stepped outside before he could ring the bell. He looked confused holding the bag. You Lena? Not anymore, I said, taking it from him. I opened it right there on the porch. 2 entrees, 2 glasses of sparkling water, and a cake. On top, written in pink frosting, let's talk. I didn't even think. I walked straight to the trash can and dropped it in. 5 minutes later, my phone rang again. Her number, blocked, but recognizable by the pattern of digits. I picked up. You're impossible, she said before I could speak. Her tone was sharp, desperate. You could have at least listened. I just wanted to explain. Explain what? I interrupted. How you stole from your job. From me? From him. She didn't answer. The silence stretched. Then she said something that made my stomach turn. They can't prove anything. And if you had any decency, you'd help me fix it. It was unbelievable. She'd gone from arrogance to begging without ever passing through remorse. Help you? I said quietly. After everything? You owe me, she snapped. I built your life. You were nothing before me. I laughed, because that was the final version of her truth. She needed to believe that to survive herself. You're right, I said. I was nothing, but at least I wasn't fake. I hung up. That should have been the end. But the real final twist came the next morning. A call from an unfamiliar number woke me up. A man introduced himself as a corporate fraud investigator from her old company. He wanted to confirm my report and verify some transaction dates. Apparently, Lena hadn't just stolen from the joint account. She'd been funneling company reimbursements into her personal business for months. She claimed you authorized it, he said carefully. I laughed so hard I almost choked. She also claimed I didn't exist last week. You can take your pick. He chuckled softly. Fair enough. Thank you for confirming. One more thing. We traced a recent corporate purchase, a food delivery to your address last night. That charge was flagged. Of course, the DoorDash message. She'd used her company card again, trying to bait me, and instead triggered another investigation. That was her undoing. Her arrogance didn't just end relationships, it ended paychecks. By Friday, everything had collapsed. The company terminated her employment. Curtis was placed on suspension for financial irregularities. And Nia? She sent me a short text. She's gone. Packed up. No forwarding address. For the first time in weeks, I felt no anger. Just an odd, hollow calm. That evening, I walked to the balcony with a beer and the printed DoorDash receipts. The first one that started it all, and the last one she sent as an attempt to crawl back. I taped them side by side on the wall of my small home office. The timestamps were exactly 7 days apart. Between them, a lifetime had ended. 2 months later, I was finally moving on. The wedding date that never happened came and went quietly. My friends insisted on taking me out that night to celebrate freedom, as they put it. We ended up at a dive bar, loud music, sticky tables, cheap wings. Halfway through a beer, I saw something on the TV over the bar. A local news segment, corporate misconduct at marketing firm. And there she was, walking out of the building, shielding her face from cameras. The caption read, former employee accused of misappropriating client funds. I watched in silence. My friends didn't even recognize her. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no triumph. Just the quiet recognition that she'd finally run out of people to fool. A few nights later, I got an envelope in the mail with no return address. Inside was a single photo, me and Lena, from our engagement shoot. On the back, in her handwriting, were 5 words. You didn't have to destroy me. I stared at it for a long time, then tore it in half. I didn't destroy her. I just stopped protecting the lies she built. The truth did the rest. The last time I ever heard from her was a month after that. An email, sent at 3:12 a.m., subject line, still think you won? The message itself was short. I'm starting over. Maybe I'll thank you one day. No threats. No anger. Just that twisted calm again, like she still thought she was the one writing the ending. I didn't reply. I didn't even delete it. I just archived it next to the receipts, like another artifact in a collection I never asked for. Sometimes, I catch myself wondering if she really believes her own story, that she was just misunderstood, that she only wanted a chance to build something better. But then I remember the laughter at that apartment door, the candlelight, the cake with "to new beginnings" written across it. She'd already chosen her story. I just stopped being in it. Now, months later, the DoorDash app still sits on my phone. I never deleted it. I open it sometimes, not to order food, but to scroll through the history, the chain of ordinary dinners leading up to the one that changed everything. It's strange how betrayal hides in the most mundane things. In a restaurant receipt, in a bottle of wine, in an app notification that simply says, "Your order has been delivered." The truth is, she delivered it herself. Not food, not closure, just the moment that set me free.